The sun was brutal that afternoon, baking the asphalt of a quiet rural road 2 hours outside Boston. The kind of road where no one expects to find a luxury sports car, let alone a man in a custom-tailored suit shouting into a phone. Yet there he was, pacing next to a gleaming red Shelby GT500 Mustang, its hood gaping open like a mechanical wound. "I don't care how much it costs," he barked. "Just get the damn tow truck here. I've been stranded for 2 hours. I have a meeting with the governor in less than 3. 10-year-old Maya Johnson watched from a distance. Her backpack weighed heavy on her shoulders, not from the books, but from the heat and uncertainty. Her aunt always told her to avoid strangers, especially angry white men in the middle of nowhere. But something about his desperation made her pause. That, and the fact that the engine's whimper was all too familiar. Maya adjusted her backpack, knowing exactly what was inside. Notebooks, yes, but more importantly, a compact metal toolkit, a gift from her Uncle Leon, a mechanic who believed every child should understand how machines work. She stepped forward slowly. "Excuse me, sir. Need help?" Andrew Whitaker, CEO of Whitaker Enterprises and one of the wealthiest men in Boston, turned around with a scowl that melted into disbelief. He blinked at the small girl in a sun-faded MIT t-shirt and colorful braids. "That's very kind, sweetheart," he said, voice dripping with condescension. "But this is a high-performance car. I need a mechanic." "I am a mechanic," Maya replied, already stepping closer. "Sort of." Before Andrew could protest, she had dropped her bag, popped the toolkit, and leaned over the engine with the familiarity of someone who didn't just know what to look for. She understood. When did it start overheating?" He blinked again. "About 40 minutes ago, then it just died." "Smell anything sweet? Like syrup?" Andrew's brow furrowed. "Yes, actually. How did you—" "Coolant leak," Maya said, pointing to a small puddle beneath the car he hadn't even noticed. "Radiator hose is cracked." Andrew stared at her. There was something eerie about how quickly she diagnosed the problem, like she could see inside the engine's soul. But that wasn't what sent chills up his spine. It was when she brushed her hair from her face, revealing a ring, a glimmering emerald stone in antique gold held onto her finger with thread, a ring Andrew hadn't seen in 12 years, and in that moment, everything changed. Andrew's breath caught. His gaze was fixed on the emerald ring as if it were a ghost from another life. It wasn't just a pretty antique or some childhood trinket. It was a one-of-a-kind piece, an emerald with a crescent-shaped flaw inside, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. He knew because he had given that ring to a girl named Maya, not this Maya. Or so he thought. Years ago, long before corporate boardrooms and billion-dollar land acquisitions, he had volunteered at an orphanage on the outskirts of Boston. Little Angels, they called it. He wasn't looking to make headlines. He had just been a young man trying to make sense of the world. There he met a toddler who fixed broken toys like puzzles. A child with dark skin and bright eyes who didn't speak much but understood everything. On the day before the orphanage mysteriously closed, he'd given her that ring, a promise. "I'll come back for you," he had whispered. He never did. The orphanage was shut down days later. All records lost, children scattered. He told himself it wasn't his fault, that it was just one of those things. But the guilt stayed buried under meetings, mergers, and deals. Now here was this girl, Maya, with those same intelligent eyes and that exact ring. "Where did you get that?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Maya looked at her hand. "It was my mother's. Well, my adoptive mom, Diana. She died last year." Andrew's throat tightened. Diana. The name hit like a punch. She was a nurse at Little Angels, soft-spoken, but fiercely protective of the children. There had been rumors she fled with one of them during the shutdown. No one knew for sure. Maya added. She told me it was a symbol, that it would make sense one day. Andrew nodded slowly. His hands trembled as he retrieved a business card from his wallet and handed it to her. If you ever need anything, he said, voice suddenly hoarse, call me. Maya took the card with a polite nod, her expression unreadable. She waved as she stepped out of the car and ran toward a modest, well-kept house in the distance. Andrew didn't move, not for a long time. The sun dipped below the trees, casting shadows across the road as Andrew stared at the now empty passenger seat. The ring, that damned ring, had reopened something he thought he'd buried forever. When he finally picked up his phone, it wasn't to call the governor. It was to call Ramirez, his private investigator. I need you to look into someone, he said quietly. Her name is Maya Johnson, and I think she was supposed to be my daughter, but the truth would be far more complicated than that. By the time Ramirez called back, Andrew hadn't slept in nearly 2 days. His penthouse overlooked the Boston skyline, but the view did nothing to calm the storm inside him. All he could think about was the girl, the ring, and a past that was clawing its way back into his present. I ran everything we had on Maya Johnson, Ramirez said. There's no official record of her adoption, no birth certificate, nothing, connecting her to little angels. Andrew rubbed his temples. What about her mother, Diana Johnson? Died last year, Ramirez confirmed. Car crash, brake failure. But here's the thing. The mechanic's report is missing and the police file was closed unusually fast. Andrew's jaw tightened. And, Ramirez continued, there's more. I dug into the closure of Little Angels. The official story was financial mismanagement. But the building was bought for pennies on the dollar by your father. Andrew froze. What? 12 years ago, under a shell company. A week after the property transfer, Little Angels shut down. No press coverage, no public outcry, just gone. Andrew opened his laptop and pulled up internal company archives. Sure enough, buried deep under layers of innocuous-sounding real. Estate Files was the name. Horizon Development Initiative. A placeholder project. He clicked through. The site was now a construction zone for a luxury condominium complex, and right there on the original deed, authorized by Howard Whitaker. Andrew's father had orchestrated the acquisition, and no one had questioned it. Not the board, not the press, not even Andrew himself. He slammed the laptop shut. Everything was unraveling. Later that afternoon, his assistant entered the office holding a thick folder. Mr. Evans from legal dropped this off. Said your father wanted you to review the Horizon Project documents before final approvals. Andrew nodded and waited until the door closed before opening the file. Inside were blueprints, budgets, and at the bottom, a spreadsheet labeled Orphanage Reallocation Log, Maya Johnson, circled in red. Beside her name, a note, special case. Contact H.W. Andrew stared at the letters. H.W., his father. This wasn't just about a girl, it was about control, secrets, and something else. Power, he picked up his phone again. Ramirez, find everything you can on Little Angels, not just the closure. I want to know why it was shut down, who was there, what happened to those kids, especially Maya. I want the full picture. And if someone doesn't want us to have it, Ramirez asked. Andrew didn't hesitate. Then we dig until they can't stop us. But as Andrew looked out over the city, he had no idea that someone else had already started watching Maya too, and they weren't interested in protecting her. While Andrew pored over confidential files in his high-rise office, Maya was in the small workshop behind her aunt and uncle's house, deep in concentration. She had an old transistor radio open on the bench, wires scattered like vines. To anyone else, it would have looked like a tangled mess, but to Maya, it was a map. One she could read by instinct. Leon entered, wiping his hands on a rag. You really think that old thing's worth fixing? Maya smiled without looking up. It just needed to feel seen. She twisted a final wire into place, flipped a switch, and music crackled through. A jazz station. Clear as day. Leon shook, his head in admiration. "You've got that gift, girl. Not just with machines, with understanding how things are put together. I swear, sometimes I think you hear what they're trying to say." Maya hesitated. "Do you think Mom would be proud?" Leon's smile softened. Diana was already proud. You could have built a paper kite, and she'd still hang it on the wall like a masterpiece. Then Maya added, "I met a man yesterday. His car broke down. I helped him fix it." Leon raised an eyebrow. "Yeah?" He was rich, like really rich. Andrew Whitaker. He gave me his card. She fished it from her backpack and handed it to him. The room shifted. Leon's hand tightened around the card. His expression darkened instantly. Whitaker. At that moment, Renee entered, her eyes scanning Leon's face. She read his alarm, like a book, and turned to Maya. "Sweetheart, remember how we said we'd explain more about your mother when you were older?" Maya nodded slowly. "I think that time is now." That night, as the crickets outside filled the silence, Maya sat cross-legged on the couch. Renee placed a yellowed envelope in her hands. "This is from Diana. She made us promise to give it to you if anyone from the Whitaker family ever showed up." Leon added quietly, "There's a reason she never told you the full story. She was trying to protect you." With trembling hands, Maya opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten in elegant script, her mother's handwriting. "My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, then the past has finally caught up with us." The words blurred as Maya's eyes filled with tears. The letter revealed everything. How Diana had been a nurse at Little Angels. How, when she discovered what the Whitaker family was doing to some of the children, testing them, recording them, evaluating their abilities, she knew she had to run. Maya hadn't been just another orphan. She had been the target. Diana had taken her in the middle of the night, faked adoption records, and disappeared into the countryside. They'd lived under different names, never staying too long in one place. Diana had built a quiet life, always looking over her shoulder. She used to say, Renee whispered, that broken systems aren't fixed by hiding. But sometimes, hiding gives you time to grow strong enough to fight. Maya stared at the letter. And for the first time, she began to understand. The ring wasn't just a keepsake. It was a key. And someone had just realized it still existed. At Whitaker Enterprises, Andrew's mind raced faster than any sports car he owned. His investigator Ramirez had just dropped another bombshell. Someone else was looking into Little Angels, a journalist, Marcus Hayes from the Boston Globe. "He's got sources, Andrew," Ramirez warned, "and a theory. He believes your father targeted children with exceptional talents. Maya wasn't the only one." Andrew stared at his screen. A new message from Ramirez popped up. A grainy photo of a young Diana fleeing in the night with a bundled child in her arms. It was her. It was always her. Across town, a black SUV idled outside Maya's school. Two suited men sat inside, watching as Maya laughed with her friends. One of them spoke into a phone. "She's confirmed. The girl with the emerald ring. Mr. Whitaker wants her brought in," but they didn't know that Leon had seen them. From his battered pickup truck across the street, he called a number on a worn piece of paper. "Marcus Hayes? You were looking for proof about Little Angels? I've got it. And a girl who doesn't know how much danger she's really in." Back at Whitaker Enterprises, Andrew wasn't ready for the confrontation that came next. His father, Howard Whitaker, flew in from Florida unannounced. "You're looking into things best left buried," Howard growled. Little Angels was shut down for a reason. The land, the project, the future. Andrew stood firm. "This isn't about land. This is about a A child you tried to erase. Howard laughed. Do you have any idea how powerful she could become? She's Project 17. We chose her because she sees patterns. Machines talk to her. Imagine what we could have done. You mean used her? Andrew snapped. Howard's gaze was cold. Don't pretend you're above this. You sit in the chair I gave you. Then I'm standing up now, because Maya wasn't just a secret. She was the proof. And Howard Whitaker had just realized she was the biggest threat to everything he'd built. The tension in the 50th floor conference room of Whitaker Enterprises could have sliced through steel. The board had been summoned. Howard sat at the head of the table like a king returning to his crumbling kingdom. But when Andrew walked in, it wasn't alone. This is Claire Bennett, he said calmly. Federal prosecutor. She has questions about Project Prometheus. Howard's face turned pale. You fool, he hissed. You don't bring outsiders into family business. I'm not part of that family anymore, Andrew replied. He turned to the large screen and tapped his laptop. One by one, files appeared. Maps, adoption logs, recordings, and then a video. Security footage from 12 years ago. Diana Johnson, running through the back exit of Little Angels with Maya in her arms. You knew she escaped, Andrew said. You sent people after her. Howard slammed his fist on the table. She stole our property. That girl is a child, Andrew cut in. Not a prototype, not a patent. At that moment, the doors opened. Maya entered, with Uncle Leon, and Marcus Hayes, who rolled in a camera already broadcasting live. Howard's jaw dropped. You? Yes, Maya said, voice steady. Diana always said I'd have to face the men who made us run. You're just a girl, Howard sneered. I'm the girl who fixed your son's engine, she replied, and the one who carries the evidence your empire tried to bury. She raised her hand. The emerald ring shimmered. With a twist, a small latch popped open. Inside, a microchip. This contains copies of every file from Little Angels, she said. The experiments, the transfers, your meetings with military contractors. The room went silent. This is live, Marcus said. Over 20,000 people are watching. Howard lunged, but Claire Bennett stepped forward. Mr. Whitaker, you're under federal investigation. As agents flooded in, Howard Whitaker was finally silenced, and the world watched it unfold in real time. The news moved fast. Whitaker empire implodes. Orphanage scandal exposed. Teenage girl breaks billion-dollar corporation. Within days, Whitaker Enterprises stock crashed. Executives resigned. Former employees came forward. Investigations expanded to other orphanages with similar secret programs. Andrew stepped down from the company and gave up his shares. He had lost everything his father gave him and found everything his father never could. Integrity at Diana's. Grave, Maya placed a new flower and whispered, "We did it." And beside her, Andrew whispered too, "I'm sorry I didn't come back when I promised, but I'm here now." 5 years passed. The Johnson Center for Young Inventors stood tall on the land where Little Angels once stood. Labs, classrooms, and workshops buzzed with life. Maya, now 15, moved through the building like its heart. The sensor in the East Wing is misaligned, she told the team. Try recalibrating the secondary relay. Behind her, Leon smiled. Andrew, in rolled-up sleeves and denim, worked with donors and educators. No contracts, no exploitation, just opportunity. Maya is about to file her 3rd patent, Leon said, proudly. Her story, once hidden, was now on display in the center's main hallway. Headlines, photos, a girl with a gift and the courage to expose the truth. Even Victoria Whitaker, Howard's daughter, had joined the effort, now a federal prosecutor, who helped protect dozens of other children just like Maya. In a prison far away, Howard Whitaker stared at a gray wall. The man who had once spoken of legacy now had nothing. And Maya? She stood at the center's stage during graduation, holding the same emerald ring. "When I was 10, she said, I fixed a stranger's car. I thought I was just helping. But that act exposed secrets and opened a path for change." She looked at the young inventors before her. "We don't just fix broken machines here. We build new systems. We create new legacies." Outside the center, a new sign read, "Every child deserves freedom. Every talent deserves to shine, and the world would never forget the girl with the ring."